They called me a useless wife, so I canceled everything and took the money. I wasn't supposed to find out that my husband and his mother called me useless. It wasn't even a secret recording or some dramatic confrontation. No. My discovery came wrapped in laughter, the kind of cruel, careless laughter that only happens when people think you'll never hear it. I was in the kitchen that Saturday morning, the smell of stew simmering on the gas stove, and the faint hum of Afro beats playing from the living room. My husband, Kelechi, was on a video call with his mother. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but when someone mentions your name, your ears don't ask for permission. Mama, don't worry. She's harmless. You know Amara, just there. Pretty, polite, but useless. No real ambition. His mother chuckled, voice dripping with pride. At least she's obedient. She should thank God you married her. Women like that need men like you to guide them. The words hit me like boiling oil splashing my skin. Useless. That word clung to my bones. I turned off the stove and leaned against the counter, listening to every word I was never meant to hear. I told her to leave that silly baking business. What's she doing selling cakes from home like a student? If she wants to be useful, she should focus on giving you children, his mother said. Kelechi laughed loud and careless. Exactly. Even my friends joke that I'm basically raising a house girl with makeup. My hand shook so badly that I dropped the wooden spoon. It clattered on the tiled floor loud enough that he turned around, startled. He saw me standing there, silent, eyes locked on his phone. For a second, guilt flickered in his eyes, then arrogance replaced it. Amara, you're overreacting. It was just a joke, he said, voice sharp with irritation. Don't start acting dramatic. I didn't respond. I just turned, wiped my hands on a towel and said quietly, Enjoy your joke, Kelechi. Then I walked upstairs. My heart didn't beat normally that day. It burned. That night, while he snored beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Useless. The word played over and over, taunting me until I whispered to myself, if they think I'm useless, maybe it's time I show them what useless can do. Before I married Kelechi, I had dreams, real ones. I studied architecture. I graduated top of my class. I had a job offer lined up in Cape Town with a firm that wanted me on a 3-year project. Then Kelechi came along, charming, smooth, confident. The type of man who always had a plan for you, even if you never asked for it. You don't need to move to another country, Amara. You'll build your own firm one day. Stay here, let's build together. I believed him. I always believed him. 2 months after the wedding, I left my job because a wife shouldn't be working late around men. I started baking from home just to stay busy. At first, he encouraged it, until he realized I was earning more than he thought I would. That's when the mockery began. Amara, it's just cakes, not architecture. Don't start feeling like a boss lady. The day I caught him deleting my business messages by mistake, I should have known. But love blinds you and loyalty chains you quietly. Now I was awake, fully awake. In the weeks that followed, I started paying attention. The late-night calls that work stress supposedly explained. The credit alerts to strange names. The perfume that wasn't mine. When I confronted him gently one morning, he smirked. Amara, don't embarrass yourself. You're lucky I still come home. Most men would have left you already. He left for work, leaving me standing in the living room clutching my apron like a lifeline. That was the morning I made my decision. If they thought I was weak, I'd let them keep believing it. Just long enough. So I smiled more. Cooked his favorite meals. Agreed with everything he said. When his mother came to visit and called me slow in her sweet, poisonous tone, I laughed along. I became invisible on purpose, because invisible women can move freely in the shadows. I began gathering information. Every receipt, every transfer, every contract Kelechi bragged about but never let me see. I made copies. The company accounts he kept hidden. I found the ones tied to our joint investments. He had registered my name on a property for tax reasons. That was his mistake. While he was busy parading his new business partner, I was consulting a quiet, sharp lawyer friend from university, Ngozi, who owed me a favor. She smiled after reading the documents I brought her. Amara, do you realize what you have here? He made you co-owner on paper. If you pull out, he loses liquidity. Without your consent, those accounts freeze. I nodded slowly. Perfect. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to end this silently, efficiently. The week of his 35th birthday, he was planning a massive celebration. A luxury hotel, over 200 guests, a live band, the works. He told everyone it was his year of glory. He didn't know that I had already called the event planner and the venue manager behind his back. I told them calmly, cancel the entire event. The client has withdrawn authorization. Refunds should be transferred to the account under my name. They hesitated at first, but when they saw my name on the registration documents and the 60% deposit made from our joint account, they obeyed. Then I called our banker and withdrew my portion of the investment, transferring every cent to a secure business account I'd quietly opened months ago. Kelechi's empire? It wasn't as big as he thought. It was balanced on my signature. That night, he came home humming, bragging about how the governor's son would attend his party. I smiled, kissed his cheek, and served him dinner. "You've been so calm lately," he said between mouthfuls. "I like this version of you, obedient, peaceful." I smiled again. Peaceful, yes. Inside, I was a storm he'd never survive. The morning of Kelechi's birthday, the sun rose bright and arrogant, just like him. He woke up humming to himself, strutting around the room like a king dressing for coronation. "Make sure the tailor brings my Agbada by noon, babe," he said, buttoning his shirt. "And wear that gold dress I like. I want people to see how fine my wife looks." I looked at him through the mirror, brushing my hair slowly. "You'll get your wish," I said. He winked at me, clueless. "Good girl." I smiled at that, a small, knowing smile that made my reflection in the mirror look like a stranger. By midday, his phone started buzzing. At first, it was just a few calls. The event decorator. Then the band. Then his cousin, who had apparently driven 2 hours for nothing. "Bro, what's going on?" "They say the party's canceled." "The venue says they refunded the money to your wife's account." Kelechi froze. "What nonsense are you talking about?" I sipped my tea slowly, pretending not to hear. He turned to me, eyes narrowing. "Amara, did you cancel my event?" I raised an eyebrow. Our event, technically. Since my name's on the payment documents. "Don't tell me you didn't notice?" "You can't be serious," he snapped, voice rising. "Do you have any idea who was supposed to attend? My investors, my partners?" "Oh, I know," I interrupted softly. "I just thought they might like to know who really funds your lifestyle." His face drained of color. "You wouldn't dare. Try me." The next few hours were chaos. His phone didn't stop ringing. Every contractor, every caterer, every supplier, gone. And then came the call that broke his last bit of pride. His bank manager. "Sir, we've received a withdrawal from the joint investment account, authorized by your co-owner." "Co-owner?" he repeated, turning toward me in disbelief. "Amara, what did you do?" "I simply took what was mine," I said, walking past him. "And I left what you deserve." He grabbed my wrist, desperation in his eyes. "You can't just ruin me like this." I looked at his hand on me, calmly, coldly. "You ruined yourself, Kelechi. I just turned on the light so you could see it." He let go. For the first time, I saw fear in his face, and not anger, not arrogance, just fear. By evening, his mother stormed into our home, voice already sharp like a whip. "Amara, what have you done to my son?" I stood at the bottom of the stairs, dressed in that same gold gown he loved. My hair perfect, my face calm. "Good evening, Mama." "Don't good evening me. You're wicked." "You canceled everything. The entire town is talking. You're destroying this family's name." I smiled faintly. "Which family? The one that called me useless?" She flinched just a little. "You took things too far. A good wife forgives." "A good wife?" I repeated slowly, stepping closer. I was a good wife. For years, quiet, loyal, patient, and what did I get? Mockery, lies, betrayal. You raised a man who mistook my silence for stupidity. Kelechi tried to interrupt, but I turned on him. "And you built your kingdom on my back. My name signed every deal you made. My patience covered your debt, and my kindness hid your shame." He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Then came the twist he never expected. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded document. "This," I said, placing it on the table, "is a transfer of ownership. The property you claimed as yours, now fully mine. You registered it under my name for tax reasons, remember?" His eyes widened as he snatched the paper. "No!" It can," I said simply. "And it does." He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Not the quiet housewife he dismissed, but something colder, sharper, unbreakable. "You planned this," he whispered. "No," I said. "You planned this the day you called me useless. I just followed your script to the end." His mother grabbed my arm. "You can't just leave. You're his wife." I looked at her hand, then at her face. "Wife?" I said quietly. No, I was his mirror. He just didn't like what he saw. Then I stepped back, picked up my handbag, and walked toward the door. Where will you go? Kelechi asked, voice trembling. Anywhere, I said. As long as it's away from people who think peace is weakness. As I opened the door, I paused. Oh, and one more thing. Tell your investors the useless wife owns half their contracts now. They'll know where to find me. And then I left. That night, I checked into a quiet seaside hotel, logged into my business account, and smiled at the 6-digit balance that stared back at me. I opened my new company registration email, Amara Designs Ltd. Freedom had a name now, mine. The first morning without Kelechi felt strange. I woke up in white sheets softer than anything I'd ever owned. The air smelled like salt and freedom. Through the balcony doors, the ocean glittered beneath the rising sun, wide, endless, indifferent. For a long time, I just stood there letting the breeze wrap around me. For the first time in years, no one was shouting my name. No one was asking what was for breakfast. No one was calling me useless. Silence had never sounded so powerful. By noon, my phone was buzzing again, but this time with messages from friends and former colleagues I hadn't heard from in months. Amara, is it true you divorced Kelechi? Girl, your story is everywhere. That man is trending for the wrong reasons. You're a legend, sis. You did what every woman dreams of doing. I opened one of the links someone sent me. A gossip blog headline that screamed across the screen, Businessman Kelechi Nwosu exposed. Wife cancels lavish party and walks away with fortune. There were pictures, too, of his mother crying in their compound, of him shouting at reporters, of my gold gown sparkling like victory as I left the gate. The internet had taken sides, and surprisingly, most were on mine. Comments flooded the posts. Serves him right. These men think women are fools. Queen behavior. She carried grace and revenge in the same handbag. I didn't reply to a single message. I just smiled, leaned back on the balcony chair, and sipped my pineapple juice. For once, I didn't need to explain myself. The world had already written my story for me, and this time, they got it right. 2 weeks later, I received a call from one of Kelechi's former partners, a man named Tunde. Amara, I'm calling to say, you were right about him. We pulled out of his project. Turns out he'd been using your name to secure half his deals. Without your signature, everything's collapsed. I see, I said softly. What happens to the contracts? They're void. Unless, of course, you're willing to step in. I smiled. Send me the documents. That was the day Amara Designs Limited became more than just an idea. In 3 months, my name began circulating again. Not as Kelechi's wife, but as Amara Nwosu, CEO of one of Lagos's fastest-growing interior brands. Magazines started calling. Radio hosts wanted interviews. The same people who used to whisper behind my back were now begging for my attention. But the most satisfying call came from an unknown number one evening. Amara, it's me. That voice. I hadn't heard it in months, but it still made my skin crawl. What do you want, Kelechi? I need to talk, please. About what? The money you lost? The pride? Or the life you built on my back? He sighed, the sound of defeat heavy on the line. I messed up, Amara. I didn't see what I had until it was gone. Everything's gone. The house, the cars, even Mama had to move out. I'm begging you, please, can we meet? I didn't say a word for a while. Then I asked, where are you staying? At my cousin's place in Acadia, just for now. Good, I said. Because that's a convenient place to start over. So, you'll see me? He asked, hope rising in his voice. No, Kelechi, I said gently. I already did. The day you called me useless, and I hung up. Weeks later, news came that Kelechi's final business had folded. His investors withdrew, his reputation crumbled, and creditors circled like vultures. Apparently his new girlfriend, the one who used to smirk at me during his events, left him too. She said she can't be with a man who has nothing, someone told me. I laughed quietly. Life had a way of writing poetic endings. Still, I didn't celebrate his downfall. Not openly. Because truthfully, revenge wasn't about watching him suffer. It was about watching myself heal. Every day I built something new, something mine. I hired young women, girls who'd been mocked for dreaming too big or speaking too boldly. I gave them jobs, mentorship, and the kind of respect I once begged for. And when my company finally hit 1 million naira in profit, I threw a small celebration at the same hotel where I'd spent my first night of freedom. I didn't invite anyone from my past. Not a single one. A month later, on a quiet Saturday afternoon, there was a knock at my office door. My assistant peeked in. "Madam, someone's here to see you. He says it's important." "Who?" He didn't say, but he looks familiar. I already knew. When I opened the door, there he was, Kelechi, thinner, tired, his once proud shoulders sagging. "You shouldn't have come here," I said coldly. "I had to," he said. "You won't answer my calls." "I'm not here to fight. I just need closure." I folded my arms. "Closure? You think closure comes knocking after betrayal?" He stepped closer, eyes glistening. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know you were never useless. I was the useless one. You gave everything, and I threw it away." I looked at him for a long time. For a brief moment, I saw the man I'd once loved, beneath the pride, beneath the lies, beneath the ruin. But that man was gone now. "I don't need your confession, Kelechi," I said softly. "I got my closure when I realized I could rebuild without you." He nodded slowly, tears slipping down. "You really don't love me anymore, do you?" "No," I whispered. "But I respect the lesson you gave me. You taught me that silence is not peace, it's suffocation." He looked down, voice breaking. "I wish I'd learned sooner." "We all do," I said. "But some lessons come after the applause." Then I turned away. He stood there for a few seconds, then quietly walked out. That was the last time I ever saw him. Years passed. My business grew beyond anything I'd imagined. We expanded across cities, and our designs appeared in high-end hotels and corporate buildings. People began calling me the woman who turned pain into power. I bought my own house, not the biggest, but peaceful. Every corner designed by me, every wall painted in colors that whispered, "You did this." One evening, as I sat in my backyard watching the sunset, my assistant handed me a letter. "From who?" I asked. "No sender name. But I think it's from him." I opened it. "Amara, I know I don't deserve even your time, but I want you to know I'm proud of you. You did everything I said you couldn't. I'm trying to rebuild too, though slower. I'm learning to live with what I lost. You may never forgive me, but I hope you'll remember that once, even if I was blind, I loved you. Kelechi." I folded the letter carefully, set it aside, and smiled. Forgiveness didn't mean going back. It meant moving forward without the weight of bitterness. That weekend, I drove to my old neighborhood, the one where people once whispered about the useless wife. Now they whispered something different. "That's her. The designer on TV." I stopped by the church where Kelechi's birthday party was supposed to have been blessed years ago. It was empty now, except for an old caretaker sweeping the floor. "Good afternoon," I greeted. "Ah, madam. You look familiar," he said with a smile. "Maybe you've seen me somewhere," I replied. Yes. "Weren't you the lady who canceled that big party?" I laughed quietly. "Yes, that was me." He chuckled. Life. You know, that day everyone thought you were mad. But look now. Maybe madness is the first step to freedom." His words stayed with me long after I left. Months later, I sat across from a journalist for a feature on women who defied expectations. "Amara," she said, smiling, "if you could go back and talk to that version of yourself, the one crying behind closed doors, what would you tell her?" I thought for a moment. "I'd tell her she was never useless," I said quietly. "She just outgrew the people who couldn't see her worth." "And what would you tell women still trapped in situations like yours?" "That power doesn't come from revenge," I said. "It comes from walking away and never looking back. Sometimes the loudest roar is silence." The interviewer nodded, her eyes glistening. "That's beautiful." "It's the truth," I said. If you've followed my story till the end, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because more women need to hear stories like this, stories that remind them, you're not useless. You're just unfinished. A year later, I hosted a gala for women entrepreneurs, the kind of event Kelechi once dreamed of hosting for himself. I stood on the stage, looking out at hundreds of faces, and for a second, I thought I saw him at the back. Or maybe it was just my imagination. Either way, I smiled and said into the microphone, "To every woman who's ever been underestimated, may your uselessness become your crown." The crowd erupted in applause. And as the lights shimmered across the room, I realized I hadn't just taken the money. I'd taken my life back.